It is 6:15. Time now for Government Operation and Oversight Committee. The time is 6:15. This is Monday, August 5th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Chair Bolton,
Present.
Vice Chair Guzman, Vice Chair Guzman,
Not here.
Alderman Newsome,
Present.
Alderman Felix,
Present.
Alderman Turner.
Present.
You have the quorum.
Are there any public comments at this time? Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Edwards. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this agenda, and here y'all go. Y'all finna try to disturb public comment, right? Limit and put how much time the public can speak. I want you to help me understand something. If this is the public's meeting, and this meeting is designed for us, to talk to us, communicate with us, to take care of the business, how do you guys limit our time when we communicate with you guys? So I'm gonna ask y'all tonight, when y'all pass this, because I know y'all is, you about already got the votes, are y'all gonna limit y'all time to 3 minutes? All you aldermen. We wanna see all of you aldermen limit your time, since y'all gonna use this 45 minutes as a way to cut this meeting. I get we don't like the way things is happening. I understand, and things can be done better. But this is wrong, y'all. This is wrong. This is the only time the public get a chance to really communicate, hear the business of the city, ask questions, and we never get no answer. Ever. So we're kept in the blind. But you're gonna do this. So tonight, we're gonna be watching everybody that vote for this tonight in the full council meeting. Because I'm asking y'all again, since we're limiting a time or putting a time limit on public comment, are you guys gonna commit to limiting your comments to 3 minutes? All of y'all. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
The definition for community is
I'm
social.
sorry, announce your name, please.
What?
Please acknowledge your name.
Oh, my name is Clyde McLemore.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. A definition for a community is a social unit, a group of living things with the shared social significant characteristics such as a place set of norms, culture, religion, values, customs, or identity. Values and identity are Waukegan citizens and business owners. To adopt an ordinance that will only allow 15 people to speak. When they are unable to speak to their representatives, these people voted for you. Why this administration keep trying to lock them out? The taxpayers paid for this city hall, which they have no access. Some of you aldermen don't answer your phone. These meetings are held twice a month. Now you want to limit the citizen time. Half of y'all really don't be listening to the complaints that come through. Most of y'all don't even respect public comment because you get up and you go to the bathroom, you walk around the halls while citizens are speaking instead of using the bathroom before the meetings. In a city of 89,321 citizens, you don't want to respect them enough to hear their grievances. If it's not important, then why did you take the job? You only want 15 people, because if you do the math, 45 minutes, 3 minutes apiece, that's 15 people can speak. Thank you.
Yes, Senor Reese. So this is news to me that we're going to be limiting public speaking, which I do find very disappointing, but not surprising. For those of you that have met with me prior, thank you, despite the fact that I have cussed you guys out prior. So I just don't understand why we're limiting public speaking for the community. Like, we go, we call you guys, we address issues with you guys. Some of you guys are serious, you know, with the concern of taking care of this city and the people inside of it. But at this time, it's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous at this point. And there is more that I do want to sit here and say, but of course, I only have so much time. Thank you.
Are there any more comments? I need a first and a second motion to approve the minutes of the Government Operation and Oversight Committee
So moved.
held on July 1st, 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
You got to get a first and a second.
Any first?
So
Alderman
moved.
Florin first, second by Alderman Newsom. Okay, Alderman Newsom first. Do I have a second? Alderman Felix. New business. I need a first and second motion to approve a resolution of the City of Waukegan. Hold on.
Was there a vote on the minutes? I don't think there
The
was a
vote?
vote on the minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All have it. Okay. I need a first and second motion to approve a resolution for the City of Waukegan.
Hold on. Well, actually, we need a roll call for the minutes.
Roll call
Sorry.
for that? Okay.
Please.
Chair Bolton,
Aye.
Alderman Newsom,
Aye.
Alderman Felix,
Aye.
Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Motion passed. Now, shall we move on? I need a first and second motion to approve a resolution of the City of Waukegan adopting public comments and participation rules.
So moved.
Second by Alderman Newsom. First by Alderman Newsom. Do I have a second?
Can we still?
May we
After
allow?
the second, I'm
Second.
going to give a brief presentation, and then there'll be some discussion.
Second by Alderman Felix. These rules were prepared by the City Corporation Council. Mr. Weiss, could you please summarize the purpose and content of these new rules?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the time. So let's go to the second slide here. The Illinois Open Meetings Act, which is the act that governs how public bodies in Illinois conduct their meetings, includes a requirement that says that any person shall be permitted an opportunity to address public officials under rules established and recorded by the public body. So every public body is required to take public comment in some form, and also to establish rules and procedures on how to do this. Currently, the city code and its rules of procedure in section 2-65.1 include rules of procedure which are a little bit old now. They don't reflect the full body of law that has been established under Illinois statutes, and then also under opinions of the Illinois Attorney General's office, so through their public access counselor. So we have prepared, and a number of communities have adopted similar rules. The rules that are included on board docs today. The summary of this presentation gives you a sense of the highlights of it. So the City Council is authorized to establish rules for the taking of public comment that address time during meeting for public comments when it appears on an agenda, time limits for speakers. The presentation says Germanness of comments. It actually should say germaneness. Rules of decorum, and then enforcement of rules by the chair. These draft rules that we prepared that were included in your packets today comply with both the Open Meetings Act and the opinions of the Illinois Public Access Counselor. If we could go to the next slide. So, as a summary of the proposed rules, comments made by members of the public should be germane to matters within the purview of the City Council. Now, the City Council has a pretty broad purview of topics that it can consider. For a Planning and Zoning Commission, the public comment would be limited to appropriately to planning and zoning. The City Council covers a lot of ground. They cover public welfare, public safety, development, and so what is germane to to the public body and what the City Council, its mission is a pretty broad it's a pretty broad standard. Speakers must sign up in advance of public comment starting. Public comment initially is limited to 45 minutes. If there's any remaining speakers, the draft rules say that, and I'll read this extended part directly. In the event that all persons desiring to speak during the public comment time are not able to do so within the time limit allowed, the presiding officer, in this case usually the mayor, may either extend the time allocated for public comment time or allow for continuation of public comment time after completion of all other matters on the agenda. If the presiding officer desires to extend time allocated for public time or allows for its continuation after matters on the agenda, that decision may be overruled by a majority vote of the members of the public body present. So this is similar to what we had when we had a very, very full public comment agenda over the past few meetings. I believe there was one instance where we deferred after going for about an hour. We deferred the rest until after the end of the meeting. In this case, that would be basically formalized in these rules. The draft rules include a limit of 45 minutes, and that is what is set currently in the draft. 3-minute limit per speaker, that's what the city currently enforces, and that is a limit that has been upheld by the Illinois Public Access Council. There are exceptions to the time limits. One, we've had speakers in the past who require reasonable accommodation due to an inherent condition, that a disability or some other inherent condition. Those have been traditionally allowed 4 minutes, and I think that's absolutely reasonable. To Alderman Felix, you had asked at a prior meeting including additional time for persons providing public comment who require an interpreter or translator. Right now, that's included here, but it's included with a blank. So that's something for this committee and then the City Council to discuss if they want to provide extra time for that. There is a line that says that extra time will be provided. It does not say how much extra time. That is an issue that, since Alderman Felix had asked be considered, is something for you to discuss tonight.
Alderman Turner, comments? Turn your mic on.
Can you explain germaneness? Germane to what?
Yeah, that's germaneness is, does it actually pertain to something that is within the responsibility of the public body?
So, as example, we've had people come up here, come before the council and read poems and such. Would that be germane?
If the poems are asking you to are attempting to inspire you to take a specific action, or to celebrate something, if they're asking basically the City Council to do something,
I guess
yes.
you could put it in the form
Yeah.
of a form. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We could go to the last slide in the presentation. I'd appreciate it. Okay. We do have speaker decorum rules, which we do have speaker decorum rules in the existing rules. The ones in the new rules are a little bit trimmer, a little bit more in line with constitutional requirements. One, all comments must be directed to the City Council rather than out to the audience or to specific members of staff. This is an opportunity for the public to address the public body, not to address the masses. Speech that is imminently threatening, incites violence, or is obscene is prohibited. those types of speech are actually limited by the First Amendment. Disorderly conduct that disrupts or interferes with the meeting is also prohibited. The presiding officer enforces these rules. The presiding officer's decisions can be overruled by a majority of the public body.
May I?
That concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any more questions to this motion?
Yes.
Alderman Turner?
So, speech that is imminently threatening and fighting words and such and so forth are certainly within, I'm sorry, speech that is inciting violence or threatening and fighting words and those things I can see. And those, I think those have been upheld. Banning those words or prohibiting those types of speech have been upheld by the Supreme Court. However, when you say obscenity is prohibited, I don't think you can restrict that. How do you define obscenity? Who determines what is obscene? What does that even mean? So I think we should probably take that out. And that, I mean, the entire purpose of the First Amendment is to protect your right to say things that others may find objectionable. If you didn't have, if you otherwise you could, couldn't say anything, right? So, and often, people in this room, including me, say things that other people find objectionable. But we must be allowed to say those things. And if you want to label something that someone says obscene, then who defines that? So,
Would you like me to respond to that, Alderman Turner, or is that?
if you like.
Okay. Yeah, so you make a very good point that the legal definition of obscenity is much narrower than what kind of the common parlance of obscenity is. Obscenity is not the 7 words you can't say on television. Those are not considered obscene under the law. They may be considered impolite, improper, but that is not considered. So an obscenity is not necessarily obscene. Obscene is basically statements of offense that have absolutely no communicatory value, basically, and it is. To be fair, I think your point is well taken. Our practice group, as we looked at this, went back and forth whether to include this. I can tell you that I will do my best to make sure that this is construed narrowly. I do think that it is important because I do think that, especially in the age of Zoom bombing and other things that we saw, especially when we were in virtual meetings and people were coming on and basically just saying the most offensive thing possible, even though if they weren't residents or anything like that, I would recommend keeping this in here with an understanding that the First Amendment definition of this is narrower than most people think it is.
Alderman Florent?
I know I'm not on the committee. Is it okay for me to? Okay.
Yes.
So I have 2 comments. First, I think the time for people who need an interpreter should be double. So they need their 3 minutes. So they have to speak for 3 minutes, then their interpreter has to speak. I realize it'll probably go back and forth, but I think they should have double the time because they need double the time if they want their full 3 minutes. So that would be my suggestion. And I would like to see us think about including what Mr. Edwards said in limiting our time as well, because I don't believe we can't get our messages across in 3 minutes. If we have other ways of communicating. We have Facebook, Instagram, websites. We have lots of ways of communicating with our residents. We don't need to speak for 40 minutes up here. And so I think it's something we should consider, that our time should be just as valuable as their time.
I think we should also
Alderman Turner?
I think we should limit comments to people who are members of the committee. So as for instance, when I'm not on the committee, I don't sit here, go sit out in the audience with the people. Alderman Florian just interrupted the committee limit by taking up our time, and I think it's inappropriate, so I think that would be something to be banned. And I'm not trying to offend you, Lynn, those are my thoughts. If I wanted to offend you, I would be obscene.
I'll just respond to that real quick.
Alderman Felix had his hand up, I'm sorry,
No problem.
and Alderman Hayes.
Well, I do agree with a few things that my colleagues have said. I do believe that it should be double, 3 minutes, because sometimes the language on the other language interprets, sometimes it's a little bit longer to explain something in a different language than the English language. So I think 3 minutes is very, very fair. Public schools does it. I think it works well. They haven't had any issues, so I do agree with that, Alderman Florian. In terms of allowing other people to ask questions, I believe so. I think we should be allowed to just say what our opinions are. So on a regular council meeting, most of that conversation has been taking place, so we don't have to have a longer meeting. So those are my opinions regarding that.
Thank you. So am I hearing that we're holding this over to make those changes, or give clarification?
So with regard to the inserting the time limit, the committee can make a recommendation on this tonight and include that in their recommendation, and that recommendation would go to the city council tonight to adopt these rules. This is on the city council's agenda unless there are other issues. The issues regarding the amount of time that aldermen have to speak during alderman's time, or whether other members should be allowed to speak during a specific committee meeting, are not really about public comment. We could talk about amendments to the city council's own rules in a separate meeting, but that's not dealt with specifically in these rules. These are just rules governing public comment time. So I guess what I would ask the chair is, if the committee members, now only the committee members get to vote on this, would like to recommend a time limit and any other changes or tweaks to the rules that you've been given.
So what, how much more additional time, committee, would you say other than 45 minutes?
I'm opposed to the 45-minute time limit. I think citizens and any resident has a right to redress of grievances before their their elected representatives. Mr. McLemore and Mr. Mr. McLemore and Mr. Rayon Edwards made excellent points. I just cannot see where we would restrict the rights of individuals to speak to this meeting. I want to hear what you got to say. And sometimes I may not like what you have to say, but I think everyone has a right to say it. We are all officers of the city. We are obligated to listen to the citizens. No limit.
Alderman Florian, and then I want to add, then Alderman Newsom. Then thirdly, are we allowed no? We're not allowed the public to respond. Okay.
Wanna go
Alderman
first?
Florian
You wanna
or
go
Alderman
first?
Newsom?
I just want to clarify that although the time limit is at the front of the meeting, correct? We can always add time at the back of the meeting to finish listening to everyone, correct? And if, let's say, as he correctly pointed out, there's 15 people allowed to speak. If 17 people are signed up, we can just listen to 17 people and go a few minutes extra. So we won't ever not let someone speak. It just may not be at the beginning of the meeting, correct?
Yes. So, but with the language, and it's easier if I just read the language in full, because I think that explains it better. The maximum amount of time allocated for public comment time at any meeting is 45 minutes, unless determined otherwise by the presiding officer prior to the commencement of public comment time. In the event that all persons desiring to speak during the public comment time are not able to do so within the time limit allowed, the presiding officer may either, means you got to do one or the other, extend the time allocated for public comment time, or allow for continuation of the public comment time after the completion of all other matters on the agenda. That's how this is currently written. It does not contemplate cutting people off and not allowing them. It says that after 45 minutes, we're going to move on to the other business of the city and come back. Now, there have been instances, for instance, where the mayor had set a limit, and it would have left 15 people. We looked at the count, it was 16 or 17. And the mayor every time has looked and said, no, we're just going to do this all at once. So that's the decision of the presiding officer. And then, as I mentioned, the presiding officer's decision can always be overruled by a majority of the city council. What this does is it says that we're reserving 45 minutes at the beginning of the meeting specifically for this. If that time goes over, everyone else will have to wait until we're done with the rest of the business.
Alderman Newsom?
Chair. We've gone around and around with this for 21 years since I've been sitting up here at this council. Audience time has been at the beginning of the meeting, it's been at the end of the meeting, it's been an hour, it's been 2 hours. This council meeting is to conduct the business of the city. By state statute, we allow the residents to speak. There are 3 minutes. It is not for the community or the residents to take over the meeting. We are here to conduct the business of the city. If that's not done, then we can't get anything else done. We are allowing the residents to speak. 45 minutes is quite a bit of time. Quite a bit of time in the beginning of the meeting. We conduct the business of the city. You can always speak afterwards. You can always speak afterwards. We're not saying that you cannot address this council. We're saying that we need to conduct the business of the city as well.
Excuse me, Alderman Newsom is speaking.
And we have in the past put it at the end of the meeting. We're being considerate of the residents of this community and allowing you to address this council at the beginning of the meeting before we even do any business. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. May we have a roll call, please, I believe, for this? 45 minutes? Or did I miss Alderman Felix? Did I miss you? Go ahead.
In terms of the, so Stu, this is just making it formal because the presiding officer would be the mayor, right? Unless there's a mayor pro temp.
That's correct.
So wouldn't we just be doing that anyways? Like just whenever, however the plan is in the beginning, before our meeting, we would address that. Do we have to make this formal?
Yes, you need to have rules because one of the key things about rules is if you don't have rules, you always have the threat of applying your kind of unwritten rules unequally. Mm-hmm. And that's when cities get into trouble. So all of the, as written, all this is legal under Illinois law, so long as it is applied in a uniform and fair manner.
Okay. And the public comment would be after Alderman time or before?
You mean the second part?
Yeah.
It would, well, that's something that you guys get. Right now, it is written that says completion of all other matters on the agenda. Alderman time is a matter on the agenda. So right now, as this is written, it would come after Alderman's time. If you would like to modify that, you can make a recommendation, and we can add that.
Oh, well, I'm open to suggestions, but if the constituents want to kind of have something for us to respond to, you know, we can always have the Alderman time afterwards, depending on what you guys want to do. I'm either or, as long as we don't limit the overall for it. So however you guys would like to do it.
Well, I hear it's been clarified that the objective of this is to address what's on the agenda so we can complete city business. And then I also hear that we can allow some additional flexibility. Am I correct about that? Yeah.
Yeah, the way it's written right now is that the limit is 45 minutes. That can be extended by the presiding officer, or you can allow people to speak at the conclusion of business.
In addition, afterwards. Okay, thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
So,
Alderman,
just to clarify.
Yes, clarify.
There was a recommendation, well, actually, I don't know if this was a suggestion from someone who's not on the committee, was to recommend twice the normal amount of time for someone requiring an interpreter.
I'd recommend that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, that's something you would like, that's something that Alderman Felix would like to include in the committee's recommendation. And Alderman Turner, who is also on the committee, had suggested that he wanted to remove the 45 minutes. So those would both be amendments to this as written. And I would recommend that we do a quick vote to determine if either of those amendments are ones that you would like to include. And I can walk through the procedure on that if you'd like me to.
Walk me through it.
Yeah, nothing can be removed for time. No time.
So, sir, the time for public comment on this was before. Okay. So there was a motion to add.
Stu?
Yes.
Really quick, can we separate those two?
I was going to.
They are.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. There was a motion from Alderman Felix to, in the time allotted section, to add for persons requiring an interpreter translator who will be allowed to speak for up to 6 minutes. So that would be a proposed amendment to this. Daphne, could you do a roll call vote on that?
Can I just really speak to that translator issue, please?
Sure.
So sometimes people come up here and they want a translator so that the audience can understand what they're saying. But everybody up here, you know what I'm saying? They're addressing to the audience. So I want to key on one of the bullet points that the audience time, their comments are to be directed to the city council, right? So if I don't need a
Correct.
and then people sometimes will come up with a translator, and they don't need a translator. You know, they speak perfect English. I can tell by knowing them.
Well, Stu, everything that we're seeing applies to that, right? I mean, it's
So,
just time.
So to Alderman Turner's point, and this is a fair one, is that if someone's first language or are not comfortable providing their comments in English, and they require a translator to be able to communicate their comments to the city council, which is all public comments should be directed to the city council. If they require a translator, I can clarify that language and say that this only applies to that, rather than someone speaking in English and then having a translator translate it to another language for the people in the audience. So we can clarify that. Okay. So there is a motion that persons requiring a translator to English from their native language would be given 6 minutes total, double the time that you would normally, that a person speaking directly would receive.
And I also would say someone that needs sign language as well. Don't forget that.
Yes, so someone who is speaking in ASL and needed someone to translate to that for them would, yes, that would also apply.
Thank you so much.
So that is one proposed amendment. Alderman Felix, you made a first on that. Is there a second to that amendment?
Can I
I'll
get a
second
second?
Okay. Daphne, could you?
I'll second.
Could you
Second
call
by
the-
Alderman Turner.
Could you call the roll on that amendment, please?
Alderman Newsome,
Aye.
Alderman Felix,
Aye.
Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Chair Bolton.
Aye.
So
Motion passed.
So that amendment to allow persons requiring a translator from their native language to English when providing comments to the city council to allow them 6 minutes, that it will be incorporated in what's going on to the main agenda. The next amendment was an amendment proposed by Alderman Turner to remove the limit at the beginning, the limit for public comment of 45 minutes. Does that have a second from someone who is on the committee? Okay, so that amendment, at least at the committee level, fails. You're welcome to make that amendment again when it comes up on new business. You have a resolution approving rules as amended. To add Alderman Felix's suggestion, you can do a roll call on the resolution as amended now.
Okay, roll call, please.
Chair Bolton,
Aye.
Alderman Newsome,
Aye.
Alderman Felix,
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
No.
Motion passed. Moving on. I need a first and second motion to approve an ordinance amending the Waukegan Code of Ordinance regarding public comments and participation.
So moved.
First by Alderman Newsome. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Felix. I believe we need a roll call.
And would you just like me to,
Aye.
I can just explain the context for this as well.
Yes.
Currently, the rules for public comment are they're in the ordinance, in the city code. What this does is it gets rid of those rules and replaces it and says that the rules shall be governed by, that the public comment should be governed by rules separately approved by resolution. And so basically just cleans up the code.
Thank you. So I believe we need a roll call. Roll call, please.
Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Alderman Felix,
Aye.
Alderman Newsome.
Aye.
Chair Bolton,
Aye. Motion passed. Old business? There is no old business. Reports and communication. There are no documents listed under the report and communication. So adjournment. I need a first and a second motion to adjourn
So moved.
at 6:52.
And you need a vote on that? Voice vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. All done.